Beetlejuice. 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 Just checking. So I went to see Beetlejuice Beetlejuice on IMAX, which, by the way, I would definitely recommend to all of you out there. It's not a perfect movie by any stretch of the imagination, but it is really good. Everybody who is in it is on their absolute A game. Jenna Ortega, she's just a phenomenal actress. I love her in everything that she's in. Catherine O'Hara was great in this movie. She leaned a little bit more, I would say, into the Moira from Schitt's Creek kind of a thing. But when you think about her character from the first Beetlejuice, that works. There's a lot more of her in this movie, and that is probably the one thing that I would say is actually superior to the original film. We get more Catherine O'Hara. Winona Ryder, performance-wise, is great. We'll get into Lydia's character in a bit. And of course, Michael Keaton. It's like he never left the role. It's astonishing that this movie was made 36 years after the original. And on that note, it feels very much like a continuation of the first film. I mean, without ripping it off, there's a couple callbacks here and there, but they feel very much earned. There's nothing that's like totally repeated. The same way that the original Beetlejuice made you go like, dude, what the fuck? This one makes you do that same thing. And you're more prepared this time around for what you're going to be getting. So the fact that Tim Burton was able to kind of do that a second time around, I personally think was very impressive. It was weird. There were some parts of the movie that were totally freaking random, but you just have to laugh at its sheer weirdness. I don't know how else to put it. There were a few jokes in the film, I have to say, that went on a little bit too long. Also, like Willem Dafoe, like his character in this film, not going to divulge what his specific shit is, but you didn't really need his character. Like, you could have extracted his character from the movie and it would have made sense in its own right. There were a lot of characters. Where the first Beetlejuice was a very simple idea, this was a lot more complicated. There was a lot more going on. That's not to say that I didn't like Willem Dafoe or his character. His whole deal, I actually thought, was very creative and funny. It just didn't really have any connection to anything else that was going on in the movie. Again, you could have just taken him out and it wouldn't have really made a difference. The biggest criticism that I probably have about the film is Lydia. And again, Winona Ryder did a fantastic job, but she's dating this like obvious douchebag Tool. He did a fantastic job at playing a douchebag, okay? He was perfect. He was perfect to the point that my wife and I were in the theater and one of his lines that's just like we heard a girl in back of us somewhere in the audience go, ew. And everybody laughed, He did great. But obvious douchebag, And it's like, when you look at Lydia from the first film, she's smart, So I find it difficult to believe that she would just become a complete marshmallow in regards to this obvious D-bag. Where the first film had really to do mostly with this house, and when you went to the other side with the Maitlands, Beetlejuice Beetlejuice takes a lot more time in the netherworld, netherworld as they called it in the cartoon, and that's sort of split with our world as it is here. And there are other characters apart from Beetlejuice that have their own stuff in the afterlife. There's just like a lot, going on. And it's not like a Ghostbusters Frozen Empire kind of deal, which I personally thought, there were a lot of characters in it. I thought they balanced it very well. This, again, in certain parts, it's like, do we really need to be taking this much time doing it? But this is not to the degree where I couldn't enjoy the movie. It's an hour and 44 minutes. You remember when movies used to be less than 2.5 hours? Good God. It's an hour and 44 minutes. It does get better as it goes along. I mean, it starts slow. It also does kind of keep to the formula of the first film in that you don't really see that much of Beetlejuice. I would say you see more of him in this film than you did in the previous one. But and I mean, hey, I personally, I wish he'd been in the movie like 5 times as much as he was, because, like I said, Michael Keaton was just like on point. I enjoyed the movie. I really enjoyed it. I think I am going to go back to theaters to see it. As far as a recommendation, yes, I do recommend it, but I am saying that it might be a little bit divisive in the fan base. There might be people who think Beetlejuice isn't in enough. There might be people who think that there's too much going on. That's a possibility. But what I can definitely guarantee you is it is a visually very impressive movie. It's a return to form for Tim Burton. Most of the effects are practical. There's some CG in there, but it is blended, in my opinion, very well. And Michael Keaton is, if you like 1988 Beetlejuice, you will like his Beetlejuice in this movie. Whether you'll like the movie, it's all a matter of personal taste, but I would recommend it, and I would recommend seeing it in IMAX because damn, that was fun. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. If you have seen this movie and you didn't like it particularly, let me know below. I want to have a conversation. Some of the best conversations are with people that I disagree with. So definitely feel free to comment below, and we will have a civil discussion about film. And that's all she wrote.